G'day, I'm Tim Thompson. I've had a few requests about fencing gullies. Today we're replacing an old broken down fence in a steep section of gully. That's going to present some problems because as you strain up the wire, obviously it's going to pull upwards on the post and try and pull it out of the ground. So today I'm going to show you a solution for that by using an unusual end assembly down in the bottom pinch point of the gully. If you like this video, please do hit the little subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up. You've got no idea how much that helps the channel. All right, let's get started pulling the fence down and setting up our new end assembly down in the bottom of the gully to keep those posts in the ground. Fencing gullies can be tricky because oftentimes the post that's at the bottom of the fall, just when it hits the gully, is carrying all of the upward weight of the wire as the wire tries to pull the post up out of the ground. So today we're coming up with a solution to keep that post in the ground at its greatest point of tension. All right, let's pull this fence down, get our posts set up, and we'll show you the trick for keeping your posts in the ground at the bottom of the gully. Before I start taking the wires off the old section of the fence, I'm dealing with ouchy bitey stuff, so on go with the speed dealers. And I've got my set of really good Morn pliers to help me out, cutting them all off the fence posts. I'm also collecting every single bit of steel that I cut off, making sure I don't drop anything on the ground because we don't want hardware disease in the stock later on as a result of me leaving stuff behind. So step one, I'm going to take off all of my steel droppers and star pickets from the fence line before I remove the tension on either end, so that my fence is easier to deal with and stays upright for me while I'm working on it. By cutting the wire off just as it starts to wrap around the old wire here, I'm actually saving the maximum amount of wire in case I want to reuse this. For a start, we're going to put these three posts in place about 9 feet or 3 meters away from each other. Then we're going to string a wire from the bottom of the outside post up over the center to the bottom of the other outside post. That's going to hold our center post in the ground and counteract the forces trying to pull it up out of the ground when that pinch point really hits it. Then we're going to take it a step further and turn this into a box end assembly. For now, we have to get the posts in the ground, so let's start doing that. So we put in the middle of the three posts because that's going to allow us to get precise measurements up and down the fence from the one that's going to be at the pinch point. What we're now going to do is we're going to measure out the next two posts so that I can also fit a top rail to these and turn this into an end assembly. So we're making a choice to come to this central post from both directions and actually strain up to this post as well. You don't have to do that. You can just gut strain your fence and attach it to this post, but the next step you do regardless. So we're working with second-hand top rails along our fence line. So we're just using the top rails as our measuring stick to make sure that we get the post holes within cooee and we don't end up putting the post 10 centimetres too far out. We'd rather be a bit closer than too far away. You're bloody fast on that machine, Andrew. So now we're at the bit that works with gullies no matter what the size of the gully. We've got our 3 posts in line. These 2 outer posts are basically our anchor posts, and this centre post is going to carry all of the burden of the wire trying to force it up out of the ground as it hits the pinch point in the gully. So what we're going to do is we're going to take wire from the bottom of this post, we're going to loop it up over the top of this post here and down to the bottom of the next post, and then we're going to come back, do the same thing, and we're going to end up with 2 loops of wire that we strain up nice and tight, holding this post down with the 2 posts on either side. Because this is such a steep gully, and because it's such a short run up the gully to the next end assembly, we're actually going to strain off this post, so we're then going to attach our top rails and turn this into a box end assembly at the same time. There you go. Yeah. All right, so we've got our 3 posts set up. You can see the top post up here, my centre post, and then I'm going back down to my other post. I've run out my wire so that I've got 2 loops going from either end post across the top of this centre post that's going to become my central stay. What I'm now going to do is just loosely tighten these up. Now we don't want to go too hard with these because when we put the top rails on, we can easily push them back out again and set up our box end assembly. Well, what we basically wanted to do is just get our anchor firm enough to hold this post in the ground when it gets stress on it. So I'm going to tie this off now with a knot, and we're going to finish building our box end assembly. However, if you're on a large run and this was just in the middle of a gully, this is enough to keep your centre post in the ground. You don't need to do more. Okay, so let's quickly review what we've built. You can see that we've got the steep gully up there and a short stretch of fence that we're going to be running down to this centre post. This centre post is going to become our strainer post, and we've got a support post either side. Now, because we're also trying to keep the post in the ground and stopping the strain of the wire from levering it up out of the ground, what we want to do is we want to run these wires here. Now they're going in the opposite direction to what you'd normally find on a box end assembly. Normally on a box end assembly you would have your wires coming from the base of the strainer post up to the top of the support post inside the run. We've gone the other way round and we've actually looped them up over the top of the post here, and you can see they're starting to dig into the post, and that's going to hold that post rock hard into the ground. The next thing we have to do now is run our normal support wires so our box end assemblies work when we strain up to them. So that's what we're about to do now. If you were just running a single line of fence and you didn't want to make a short section and you were, say, going to gut strain it or just strain it at one end, this is all you would have to do to keep this centre post in the ground. That's not going anywhere. we've fenced a very steep section of gully, and to keep the post at the lowest point, or the pinch point as I like to call it, firmly in the ground, we've run some wires over the top of it, secured to a fence post on either side. To make it even easier to work with this small section of fence, we've decided to handle this as a separate piece of fence, and we've just run a top rail between those posts and strained up wires to make them a normal end assembly as well. So now you'll see that we've got crossed strained wires, both doing a different job. This set of strainer wires are acting like a normal fence end assembly and keeping the posts from pulling over. These wires here are acting as a stay to keep this post in the ground should it ever decide to go wandering. I hope this tip was useful. If you did like it, please do consider hitting the little subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up, and check out curated content on timthompsonmedia.com.au. Until next week, I'll catch you around, guys.